Today I will be interviewing Jake and Faye. They're both volunteers at the Cape Fear Raptor Center here in Rocky Point, North Carolina. So I'm here with Jake, volunteer at the Cape Fear Raptor Center. Okay, so Jake, how long would you say you've been volunteering here?
About 8 years now. I've been volunteering ever since I was 12.
And what kind of work do you usually do for these birds?
I can basically pretty much do anything from cleaning the cages, feeding them, medicating them. I've even assisted in a couple of surgeries. Me and my grandmother, we do the educational events like presentations, and when we go out to events like a blueberry festival and whatnot. We have to clean their cages, make sure that the ones that are getting medicine get the medicine that they're supposed to be getting. We feed them, and then the ones that that are our educational birds, we try and spend some time with. And then if there are any ones that are needing to be like Koreans, which is where we fly them to make sure they're conditioned enough to go back out in the wild, we Koreans them, stuff like that.
Okay. And how often would you say you guys receive new birds, like ones that are injured?
It's kind of on a basis of whenever. I know during like mating season we get in a lot more babies than usual. Whenever there's like a storm or something, we usually get an influx. But it's just kind of they just come in at random.
And on average, how often would you say you would return them, like a release happens in nature?
So normally we try and release every single bird that we can. Some of them are obviously beyond being able to release,
right.
And even those we try and find something that we can do with them. So i.e. we can use them as an educational bird, or we can use them, we can send them to like some other facility that has a use for them. But every single one that we can release back in the wild, we do. So maybe we probably release like one or two every month.
Okay, so now I'm with Faye, volunteer at the Raptor Center as well. What would you say the central mission is of the center?
To just take these birds in, do what we can for them, and release them back out into the wild. Our really main goal is to educate the public on how important these raptors are to our ecosystem. Without these guys, we would not have a healthy ecosystem. Whatever it is they eat, they control the overpopulation of that. So, we just need for everybody to know that these guys are important.
Okay. So it's not just about helping the birds, it's also about helping the community, the ecosystem as a whole.
Right,
Okay.
exactly, yeah. Yeah, the more the public knows about these birds, the better it is for them. They understand what they eat, and that when they use poisons, this affects them. And so, just get the education out there to them.
Okay. And how long would you say the center's been operational?
Since 2012, she's the doctor that does our surgery and has the center started with 2 birds. And we now have as educational birds, we now have a total of 12 educational birds.
Okay. And how long have you volunteered there?
The same amount of time as Jake. He started, and I was just his support. And the more that I went with him, the more I got involved. And then he and I started doing the educational programs.
Okay. And what type of treatments do you typically provide to these birds?
Well, they come in with broken wings, and sometimes we have to take them to surgery and put pins in the wing. Sometimes we can just wrap them, and they will heal themselves. So so broken wings, lead poisoning, our eagles and our vultures. That's a lot of what we do is we treat lead poisoning for them to come in, and sometimes we can treat them, but sometimes their injuries are so bad we have to euthanize them. So, but just different. They get hit by cars. They have head trauma. They're most of the time it's the little ones, the eastern screech owls, that get hit by cars, and they usually end up blind. So therefore we have to find a home for them. But just all kind of things that they come in with that you wouldn't even imagine.
Okay. I know 2 of the birds you showed me were blind or partially blind. Those ones were. Mm-hmm. That was the bird you were talking about. Mm-hmm. That's by cars.
Right. That's the 2 eastern screech owls, and they were hit by cars. Mm-hmm. One of them was hit by a Mack dump truck. See. And so, so they're the ones that are blind. They're, the head trauma when they hit the car or vehicle, whatever.
What type of work do you typically do at the center?
I clean cages. I medicate the birds. I prepare food for them. And I also do all the records. Okay. We have to keep a record on each bird. And we have to weigh them daily and keep up with that weight in order to know how much food to feed them. And we have a program called Raptor Meds. And at the end of the day, when we get through doing whatever we have to do to all the birds, I put that information into the records. And then that way, if something comes up, we can go back and look at those records and tell you exactly what happened to that bird on that particular day, how much they got fed, if, like Jake said, if we're creating them to be released, when we did that. So,
okay.
Yeah.
And my final question is, what is the primary way the center receives funding?
By donations. We do not have any support from the Fish and Wildlife, the state of North Carolina. We do not have any big corporations like Duke Energy. Strictly donation. That's what, when Jake and I go out and do an educational program, say at a school or a daycare, they give us a donation. Mm-hmm. And that's how we make our funding to buy medicine and food for the birds is through donations. And we have a online donation that at Cape Fear Raptor Center, people can go in and donate through that. So mainly it's just through donations.
Okay, so you can just go to the website, donate there. Or,
yeah.
I know you guys probably receive donation from like touring it.
Yeah,
like
we have a tour. People come in and take a tour of it, and we get a donation that way. So yeah, and we do like the Blueberry Festival. Poplar Grove has some events that we attend, and we set up a big tent, and we have a donation jar, and the public will come by and look at our birds and put money into the donation jars. So
okay,
yeah,
sounds great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
This is Nero. He is our red-tailed hawk, and he was actually shot. So he actually still has a lead pellet in his brain from where he was shot, and so he doesn't have the capacity to understand that he's hungry. So we actually have to hand feed him every single day. But other than that, he's just a regular old red-tailed hawk. So this over here is Karma. She is our barn owl. There isn't actually anything really wrong with her. She's actually an imprint. The reason why we have her is because barn owls are on the endangered list, and we're actually breeding them in captivity to release them back out into the wild. And they gave her to us as an educational bird, so that way we can use her to teach the public about these birds. So this here is Archie. He's also an imprint. But he was found on Gordon Road. He fell out of his nest and then was carried around by a dog for 2 days before the owners of the dog got him away from it, the dog. and they thought that they were going to take care of him and keep him as a pet, but that's not exactly legal. So then once they figured that out, they brought him to us. So he's just an imprint. There isn't really anything wrong with him.
All right. So he can't be returned.
Yeah, because he's an imprint. So he thinks that he's a human or that we're owls, something along those lines. So he wouldn't have any fear towards humans, which is actually very necessary to be out in the wild. As well as he wouldn't know how to hunt, so he couldn't find his own food.